So I don't even know where to start with this. This is the first time I've ever made a video, so forgive me. Um, so I want to talk about what's going on in Afghanistan from the perspective of a military veteran. I served for 12 years in the Air Force, going back to 98 when I joined, and getting out in 2011. I was an aircraft mechanic, electrical environmental on KC-135s. So I deployed with my 135 unit from Fairchild to Oman. We left Fairchild at the end of September, the very last week, I believe, of 2001, after everything happened on 9/11, and we didn't get into Oman until a week later, for bureaucratic reasons. But anyways, we got to Oman, and we didn't know we were in Oman. We didn't know we were in Oman until, I don't know, sometime after we got off the plane and we got briefed as to what's going on and where we're at. But I remember when we landed, they were turning the jets really quickly. And by turning the jets, I mean getting everybody off, getting all the cargo off, doing a quick pre-flight check, and refueling. They were doing this because of the fact that the bombing campaign was due to start, and they were essentially waiting for all the refueling aircraft to be in place. So waiting for KC-10s that were sent to various locations around the theater, and my planes to be in place. And I believe we had planes that were flying out of Saudi Arabia as well. But anyways, going back to Oman. So turned our planes, and we got briefed, and we were told we were in Oman, which is kind of interesting because didn't exactly know where Oman was before I got there. And we didn't know that we were going to the desert because before we left, we were told to pack our greens and our deserts. So we didn't know where we're going. So our planes take off and the bombing missions start. This is kind of a funny anecdote. So I watched the movie 12 Strong, Chris Hemsworth, and it was about the special forces units that go in and essentially link up with the Afghan warlords to begin the bombing, And I remember telling my family when I first saw them, I was like, my planes made that happen, It was kind of a proud moment because I was never in country. I deployed four times for Enduring Freedom, and I was never actually in country, just because of the nature of my job in the Air Force. I never needed to be in country, but I was in supporting areas. So that's just a little background on me. During my time in Oman, when we were briefed that we were in Oman, somebody asked the dumb question, but it was on everybody's mind, how long are we going to be here for? And because, of course, they didn't tell us. It was just a rapid deployment. And I believe whomever was running the briefing, I don't know their rank, said plan for March. Now, this was the first week in October, so plan for March was like, oh, wow, we're going to be here for a while. But, it's okay. Everybody was in the same mindset of probably similar to the way people felt after the Pearl Harbor was bombed. It was, let's take care of business. Doesn't matter how long it's going to take, let's take care of business. And so we were like, okay. And we weren't allowed to tell our family members where we were for, I don't know, weeks. And I remember we couldn't call anybody for several weeks. We could only email. So once I got a chance to email, it was like 2 or 3 days after we got there, I was able to email my family and let them know that I was okay. And I remember I told my mom that I was X amount of hours southwest or southeast or whatever of the place I never wanted to go. So I had told her previously that I never wanted to go to Saudi Arabia because I heard horror stories about the camel spiders at PSAB. And I have a hatred and semi-fear of spiders. And so I never wanted to go there. So she knew where I was without me telling anybody where I was. So that was fun. But anyways, forgive me, I'm going to ramble. I'm not going to edit this. This is just off the cuff. So we ended up being in Oman for about 2.5 months. We left in December to head home, and head back to home base. So we were able to be home for Christmas. But in that 2.5 months that we were there, our unit, I believe we had 10 or less aircraft, and our mission was aerial refueling. We'd take off from Oman, fly over, fly and meet combat aircraft, bombers, B-52s, B-1s, fighter aircraft, F-15s, F-16s, F-18s. We were able to refuel any aircraft because we had capability for that. So we could refuel Air Force, NATO allies, Marine Corps, and Navy. And so that was our mission. We flew over 500 combat sorties without ever missing a receiver, which at the time, a unit of our size had never done. And so that was awesome. That was an awesome feeling. And the fact that, we were making a difference, So that was my first deployment. I went on 2 other little deployments, business trips, I guess you can call it, TDYs. But all of it was in support of Enduring Freedom. Ended up going to Cyprus for a little bit. I honestly don't know exactly what our mission was, but we ended up having to pivot and change our mission to go pick up a broke aircraft from PSAB, drop off our plane and pick up a new one, or pick up the broke one and then limp home. So that was interesting. Everything I did was cool. It was I was excited to be doing it because I'm, let's see, what is it? 4th generation in my family that served in the military. My great-grandfather was an officer in the Army Air Corps before it transitioned to the Air Force, and then later he retired from the Air Force. My grandfather was in the Army during World War II. He was a tank crew member under Patton, one of many under Patton, and fought in the Battle of the Bulge, among other times. And my dad served in Vietnam as a structural engineer in Vietnam. He built buildings and roads and bridges and things like that. And he didn't see combat, but he was there. And my grandfather never really liked to talk about his experience in World War II until he found out that I was joining the military. My dad really never liked to talk about his experience in Vietnam, except for one funny story about shooting a bee, because he's deathly afraid of bees. But that was just about it. And then mine, I don't mind it. My experience, I was never in country, like I said. But I feel like there's a connection there. Anyways, so what's going on now? So I was at the very beginning of this, and I felt like we had a purpose. We had a mission, and that mission was to destroy the people that attacked America. And it took a while, but I feel like we did that. I feel like that mission was accomplished when Osama bin Laden was killed. I feel like, cut off the head of the snake. That was it. We were done. We should never have been in the business of nation building. We should not have stayed as long as we did. I 100% agree with pulling the troops out. First off, just get that out of the way. I 100% agree with pulling everybody out. I 100% disagree with how it was done. I feel like there could have been a more controlled way to do it. I feel like there could have been something a little more organized. I feel like that we could have done it from more of a position of strength rather than now we're in a position of weakness and we're scrambling. I don't know who's at fault. And anybody that says and tries to say 100% certainty that it was so-and-so's fault, they really don't know. Or say that, well, this was President Trump's plan and it's his fault, or it would have been worse with him, or anything like that. That you can't say that, because that's just speculation and you never know. I think that the blame for how much of a debacle this is resting solely on the current administration. And the reason why is because they're the ones that implemented it. They're the ones that are controlling the action. And even if it was the previous administration's plan, even if it was Trump's plan to the letter, they're the ones that are driving the bus right now. They're the ones that are in control and could make things better, could make things worse, whatever. But they're the ones that are doing it. They're the ones that are there. So yeah, I 100% blame them, just because of the fact that they're the ones that are in charge right now. It breaks my heart to see everything happen the way it has, because I believe it was unavoidable. I don't know that it was unavoidable. I believe it was unavoidable. There's a marked difference between that. And I get that. But I feel like this was unavoidable, at least to this degree. It was unavoidable. And it makes me really sad that we were there for so long and we could not just leave in an orderly fashion. I was reading something online, and I saw Representative Dan Crenshaw said something, former Navy SEAL, said something about Bagram should have been the last base to close, the last airfield to close, because it was larger and it could have supported way more aircraft than Kabul International Airport. And I agree, based on the fact that I know people that have been to Bagram and know how large it is. And I never have been a military in control of troops. I've never had to lay out a strategy for anything like that. I'm only guessing. And it seems like to me it would have made sense to not remove all the troops. Like, I read one article where an airbase was, everybody from all of the Americans left overnight and didn't tell the Afghani commander that they were leaving, and they just left. I mean, what's that about? Never should have left all at once until all the Americans and all of our allies there were gone. We're safely gone. It just kind of makes sense. You withdraw with security. You don't withdraw your security and then try and get everybody out. It doesn't make any sense. So, my heart hurts seeing all the images, seeing all the videos. I'm going to get a little bit emotional at the moment right now, because whenever kids are involved, I just kind of lose it. Seeing the parents trying to pass along their kids, trying to pass along the babies to people, to soldiers. There's that desperate to get out because they know what's coming. Even though Taliban keep on saying, oh no, we're going to respect people's rights. I don't think they will. They don't have a track record of doing that. And they're not. You read stories right now about a 21-year-old woman stopped and pulled out of her car and shot because she wasn't wearing a burqa. I don't know. And I've seen the videos from different news agencies around the world, BBC, Sky News. It's horrifying. It's just, we shouldn't be doing this. It shouldn't happen this way. And our president shouldn't be taking vacations while this is happening. I just saw on Friday that he was going to Delaware. I don't care if he's working. If it's a working vacation, I don't care. The optics of the president going on vacation, period, are horrible. The president should be leading this country, should be in the White House, in D.C., leading everything. And he's not. And for him to say, and I watched a little bit of the interview with George Stephanopoulos. That was like 4 or 5 days ago. When he said that really ticked me off. Because it's like, well, the sense that I got was, why are we talking about that? It's not important. That was in the past. Let's talk about right now. And it's like, so people's lives aren't worth talking about. our allies, the Afghani people that we spent the last 20 years trying to help. And with that, so we went in, we tried to set up a government. We tried to set up a democratic government in a tribal country. That doesn't work. When are we going to stop doing that? When are we going to stop trying to force that idea into people who's almost in their DNA to not do that? They're a tribal country. Respect the fact that they're a tribal country and work within those parameters, that they're a tribal country, they're a tribal people. So don't try and force Western democracy down tribal people's throats. I mean, it's not a good look. And it doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work. And the Afghani military, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if they really did just say, all right, we're out. But if you think about it, if the Taliban comes in and they go, look, we are going to take over. You can either fight us and then we're going to kill your family after we kill you, or lay down your arms and we'll leave you alone, or you join us and then we're going to protect your family. What do you think you're going to pick? I mean, honestly. And you know that. You know that they're serious because that's the way they were. So what are you going to pick? What are you going to actually do? If you've got enough people that aren't committed to protecting the country from the Taliban, you're going to be in the minority. And so, yeah, you're going to have to go with that. You're going to follow the flock, basically. And it's sad, but that's probably what happened. I really don't know, but that's probably what happened. From an outside perspective, that looks like what happened. And it sucks. But again, it goes back to tribalism. I mean, you're going to follow your tribe. You're going to follow what your elders tell you to do. That's what a tribe does. That's how it works. That's how it's made up. And so, I mean, it really, really, really sucks. I feel bad for the people that were wanting to have freedom, wanting to have democracy, and have, for more or less, enjoyed it for the last... I know we've been there for 20 years, but I'm sure that you can basically say that they've enjoyed it for the last 15, plus or minus. Good enough time to have a generation that has grown up in that. And it sucks. And I'm mad at the finger pointing. And I know I did that. I realize I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit, and I realize I pointed the finger, but I'm mad at the finger pointing. I'm mad at our leadership. I'm mad at the fact that you listen to this administration talk and they contradict each other. I mean, I was listening to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, and I believe the Secretary of State the other day on the radio. And I mean, it was just a mess. I mean, it sounded a little bit more confused than my ramble here, which is sad because these are professionals. These are people that were selected to do a job. So to that point, so I was listening to that press conference, and I believe it was Secretary of State, could have been the Secretary of Defense, I don't know. They were talking about 169 Americans were picked up outside the wire in Kabul by American forces, okay? And a reporter asked for more information on that. Nobody that was in the press conference, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Chairman of Joint Chiefs, whoever was there, had any information on that. But they kept on saying it wasn't very far outside the airport. It wasn't very far. It was a short distance. These are things that they were saying. And then I look and see that I think it was UH-64 helicopters had to go and pick these people up. Now, to me, when you say a short distance, that's maybe a block or two. No big deal. That's a short distance. You just drive out and get them or whatever. Take a deuce and a half and go out there and pick them up, a couple of Humvees, whatever. When then I find out that you had to have 3 helicopters go out and get them, that's not a short distance. If you have to fly a helicopter to pick up people, that's not a short distance away. That's silly. So, I mean, what's the story? it's frustrating, so frustrating, and I feel bad for all of the veterans that were actually in country dealing with this and seeing these people on a daily basis and thinking and hoping that they're doing the right thing while they're there in country, and that their sacrifice, either their physical sacrifice, their mental sacrifice, the sacrifice of being away from their loved ones, was making a difference, and it was for something. And the more I see our country just screw this up, the more I worry about their mental state, and their ability to just say, yeah, what I did when I was there made a difference. I hope they can compartmentalize it that way, that their time, their contribution made a difference then. And it might not have made a difference in the grand scheme, but in that time that they were there, they were making a difference. Because I know they did. I mean, I go back and forth between what I was doing between my deployment to Oman and then my final deployment for Enduring Freedom to Diego Garcia. That I was making a difference and my unit was making a difference. And I'm just going to try and leave it at that. Not do too much of a deep dive, but that's part of the reason why I'm making this video, is because of the fact that I need to get all these thoughts out. Otherwise I'm going to explode. But I'm dumbfounded as to how everything's going on. And just to get into just a little bit more about, I don't know, this administration. No, I'm not going to. I was going to complain about this administration, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's just that they're the ones that are controlling the action. They're the ones that are in charge. They're the ones that can decide if they want to send in, if they wanted to remove troops and win, or if they wanted to keep troops there, if they want to put more troops in. And I think that to that end, the changing of the pulling our troops out from May to September was a little silly, because it gave the Taliban more time to plan and to be prepared and to be ready for this. And also it should have given us, it did. I take it back. It shouldn't. It's not that it shouldn't. It did. It did allow the State Department, the Department of Defense, and the federal government, the rest of the federal government, more time to plan for an orderly withdrawal. And this is what happened. Okay? This is what happened. So we went from a May extraction to a September extraction. So that gave what? May, June, July, August, September. About 4 months. I'm going to say 4 months. Gave them an extra 4 months, right? And they announced this shortly after Biden took office. Gave an extra 4 months. 4 months. The entire military was mobilized in a matter of 3 weeks after 9/11. I mean, you had air mobility units surrounding the Afghanistan, ready to go. You had air combat units, the fighters and the bombers, in place, ready to go by the 1st of October. You had Army Rangers and paratroops and special forces and from all branches ready to deploy, ready to be in country, dropping into country before the end of September. And so that's 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. The might of the United States military was ready to go in place in 3 to 4 weeks. And the federal government decided that to give themselves an extra 4 months from the original May deadline to September, and they weren't ready. Really? They weren't ready. That's why I'm like, this is your show. This is your responsibility, because you changed things. I don't believe that you followed the previous administration's plan. believe that you changed the plan and you want to make it your plan. And now this is your plan. This is your action. And it's sad. It's sad and it's frustrating. And I hope, I'm not a religious person, but I believe in what I believe in. And my thoughts and prayers are definitely with our men and women that are there, and that they can complete this mission without injuring themselves physically or mentally. I hope that we get everybody out that we need to get out. Our allies, our translators, people that worked for us in country, I hope they can get out. Our citizens, I absolutely hope that we can get them out. And our allies, personnel as well. If not, it is a absolute failure that will last forever, in the history of our country, in the history of our military, unfortunately, and it shouldn't be. And I mean, I look at this and I think of, goodness, the first thing that comes to mind is when, during the Carter administration, the failed special ops mission to rescue the hostages in Iran, and the helicopters and the tanker that blew up on the ground. I mean, it's just a debacle. But that's the first thing I think about when looking at this. And now this is, I mean, we're on the road to this being an absolute and utter failure, other than just, and I mean, I think we've passed embarrassment and we're on our way to failure now. But it's just sad, and I hope that everybody can be mentally okay after this. I worry about the veterans the most now, and I just hope everybody's gonna be okay, and I hope people can get out their frustration like I'm trying to. So if you watched all of this, thank you, and I hope that it helps, and if it doesn't, I'm sorry, but this is mainly for me, just to get everything out. But if it helped, I'm glad. Even if it helped one person, I'm glad, because honestly, this is all I feel like I can do right now. So thank you very much for, like I said, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much.